All right, it's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting of the Montgomery City Council into session at this time. We thank everybody for being here physically, and those who could tune in from the outside. Thank you for taking an interest in our city. We'd ask that you silence any electronic devices, cell phone included, to avoid any interruption in our proceedings this evening. We do have everyone present here on council. With that, I'd like to invite you to stand and join me in the invocation and the salute to our flags. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessings that you give in our life. Coming to this season with Thanksgiving in mind, but may that be daily, where we're grateful for where you have us and what you have us doing and all the provisions that you make for us, not the least of which is leadership in our county. We've had one pass. It was a faithful steward, Lanny Moridi, and I didn't know him, but I've heard of him before Judge Mack, and you raised him up to serve, and we're just sad at his passing, and we ask for healing for his family and friends going forward. And Lord, that you continue to raise up good stewards to serve in our county, in our cities, our churches, our institutions. And we ask your blessings over such things, as well as our meeting going forward and our city going forward. May we be good stewards of what you give us to watch over. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. The American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Understand we have some guests in our audience here for a civics lesson. Is that what it is? So thank you for your attendance, and we promise to act in a civic manner tonight. Just kidding. That's every night. All right. Under the Visitors Citizens Forum, Mr. Stan Donaldson, will you have the clock ready to keep the time for me, please? We'll take these in the order that's submitted. You'll go up to the podium and have 3 minutes from the time that you start. Mr. Foy Day was first.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Foy. I'm the new commander for the new VFW. We're 3 months old. VFW post 12223 here in Montgomery, located at 2500 Lost Star Parkway. We just wanted to stop and take a minute to introduce ourselves and let you know that we started this brand new family-oriented post for the community, getting back to the ancient ideals of teaching our youth Americanism, working with our elderly, living our citizens to find their family. That's all I've got.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's awesome.
Second is Mary Walker.
Good evening, City Council of Montgomery. My name is Mary Walker, and I live at 608 Old Pennersville Road in Montgomery, Texas. I've lived there for 23 years. I currently serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission here in Montgomery. Tonight, I'm just going to bring something to your attention. It's a statement. I would like to bring to your attention to the need for stricter consequences and a means to enforce said consequences. We meet, we listen, we ask questions, we vote, and a decision is made. More times than not, way to meetings, we see changes. We leave the meeting to find changes have already been made or in the middle of being made. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to present to commission and either vote yes or no, and that is what is happening. Currently, there are issues with paint color, lighting, ground covering, fencing, rebuilds, whether they're started, finished, or not finished, property lines, parking, noise, and vague explanations for variations. Words are spoken on how it will be, and it is not. Loose drawings and plans are received for our review, and our request to bring back drawings, plans, landscaping, fencing, vegetation to scale are not adhered to. Even to the point the question is asked, you know you're in the historical district, right? It's as though it falls on deaf ears and refusal to keep our city of Montgomery historical. We use our city ordinances and historical guidelines to ensure our city stays within its historical culture, aesthetics, charm, business plans, overall flow, cohesiveness, and nature of our city. We need stricter consequences and a means to enforce those consequences. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Marion, let me ask one question. Since a lot of people move into town and they don't really understand the historic district or even where it's at, is there anything that can be, when someone comes and applies for water specifically, and that address shows up as being in the historical district, is there any way that there could be something that could be given to them that will outline what is required to live in the historic district or have a business there?
We asked for that a few years ago, and it was supposed to be given at the time of request.
So we have nothing, so when people move in, they don't really know?
We do have something to give persons.
At what
Whether
point?
they receive them, read them, or acknowledge them is another question. Literally every meeting, I ask the question at least once. Did you know you walk in the historical district? Do you know the historical district guidelines? And there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of excuses why they did what they did, or we didn't know, or we didn't know it extended to the property. We thought it was the property, not the building. There was made mention of mailing to the citizens that are within Montgomery and the historical district. The guidelines that we have, I've not been them out, but we do have that.
Okay.
But we don't know for sure if when they apply for water, if they get that or not. Is that correct?
I can tell you that I didn't get it when I moved here.
You're not in the historic district?
No, but I wasn't offered.
All right, thank you, Mary. Third is John King.
One more came in late after I gave you.
Is that John King?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. John, go ahead.
Thank you.
Good evening to the City Council. I'm John King. I am a retired registered professional land surveyor residing at Fairwater Subdivision, 1645 Activary Street, Montgomery. That's a new subdivision about 3.5 miles out of town. Tonight I'd like to just chat a bit about pickleball. I don't know if anybody here has ever heard about pickleball, but certainly myself and my wife are both tennis players, and we started playing pickleball quite a while ago. But we just retired here now, about 6 months ago. And this is something that I see that is lacking over here. I would just like to start off by saying pickleball has been named the fastest growing sport in the United States by the Sport and Fitness Industry Association. And by 2023, it was estimated to have over 4.8 million players. The growing popularity of the sport has been attributed to its short learning curve, its appeal to a wide range of ages and fitness levels, and its low startup cost. Low startup cost being an individual player's outlay as such. There are now estimated to be thousands of pickleball tournaments tournaments at the moment throughout the United States. The key issue is the availability of property and, most important, financing for such a project. The actual sizes of these courts are about 30 feet by 60 feet, and the cost is quite expensive, as you would know, like a tennis court would be between $25,000 and $50,000, depending on what the availability is of property as such. This is a request to the city of Montgomery to possibly coordinate with other entities like the county or maybe other cities. Montgomery is the closest one as such, to see what the possibility is to have either property or financing made available over a longer period of time, and then to see if there's any light at the end of the tunnel to keep retirees like me fit and healthy and out of mischief.
Good luck with that.
Just to let you know, I've been told that why don't you join a club down at Freeport? They're building 6 new courts there. And I went to look at that about a day or 2 ago. And I said, yeah, it's fine, I'm a retiree. The cost per month for myself and my wife, $250 a month. I mean, that's a chunk of change for a retiree. If you go to April Sound, it's about the same, including an additional fee to start with. And of course, if you're lucky enough to stay in Walden, that's included in their HOA fees. So just maybe to look at something in the long term for old families like myself.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Consent agenda, item 1. There's A through G items. They're all regarding city council and special city council meetings and workshops. What's the council's pleasure?
This was laborious to go through.
Yes, it was.
And it's hard to remember from
Very.
9/19. I'd like to ask that we don't have another 7 more meetings to have to review in the future.
I'll second that.
I've heard that.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I'll take Carol's as a second. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving consent agenda item 1, A through G, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. We will approve consent agenda item 1. Item 2, consideration and possible action on a service agreement for building plan review and inspection services between the City of Montgomery and Rick Hanna CBO Partners, LLC.
Mayor and Council, we have to talk about this as much as you guys would like. We had on the consent agenda what this is. Again, as the number of times we have an agreement in place with Rick, he is changing his business name and his business structure on January 1st. So this is just getting out in front of that, and we've got an agreement with him. Rick is also here, but I'll talk about it.
How much longer is our agreement, Rick, our contract? We do it yearly, or is it?
A yearly agreement with 90-day cancellation.
Gotcha. And we just approved the last one when?
Probably either late 21, I believe.
Well, no, if it's yearly, we had to have done one in
Last year.
October 2022.
October 22.
It's October?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to do another one?
We've passed October 2023, so maybe in December.
That's what I'm saying, if it's an annual,
Yeah.
right, we're past a year.
Do you not take 1-year contracts? Do you do multi-year?
That's
Sorry.
what he said, is that we're on annuals with him now.
Understood, but maybe if we can go ahead and get it on a 3-year contract when we go over the annual
I don't think
contract.
there's a term in this, right?
Rick Hanna,
Okay.
building. It has a provision for automatic renewal.
Okay.
Okay,
There's a provision 90 days before the end of the agreement to be renegotiated. If there's no changes, it just rolls over.
Gotcha.
But with just the provision, if you're not happy, all you do is give me 90 days notice.
you
Gotcha.
do a great job, appreciate
So
it,
all we're
thank you.
doing is just changing the business entity. I've developed a pretty good team, and so I'm allowing them to have ownership. Any of you that own business, don't tell them what a great life is owning business.
So, all right.
Appreciate your efforts. It's as good, it is indeed a good team, and you've worked very hard to get licensed people at our disposal.
Make a motion to approve item 2 of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Casey, I'll take the second by Sarah. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 2 as stated and presented, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no, and we will approve item 2. Thank you, Rick. Item 3 is acceptance of the Planning and Zoning Commission final report regarding the city-initiated rezoning of 203 Prairie Street from R1 Single Family Residential to B Commercial.
Mayor and council, the recommendation is passed as recommended to rezone the property from R1 single family to commercial, and we've got a couple members of the zoning commission here to be allowed to ask any questions about it. Again, this is just a procedural thing that before you can have a public hearing, you've got to accept these.
I make a motion to accept the rezoning as presented.
Motion by Sarah.
Second.
Second, I'll take by Casey. The motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 3 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no, and we will approve item 3 as presented. Item 4, convene into a public hearing regarding the preliminary report on the city-initiated rezoning of the property commonly known as 203 Prairie Street, Montgomery, Texas. It is 6:16, and we are adjourned into, entering into public hearing at this time. Anyone here to speak?
Public comment?
Public comments?
I have one if nobody is going to approach. So I have here the original, and I'm speaking as a taxpayer, the original inspection report for this property, and I have the one in May where our code enforcement officer went through and highlighted all of the issues and deficiencies in this building and in this property. And I was mayor at the time when we purchased this property and was told that this property was in excellent condition. And we never saw the inspection report, and it was misrepresented. And as a taxpayer, I know the city took out a $1.7 million loan, and I am not appreciating the fact that we were misled to make such a purchase. And in the future, I would like to ensure that we have all documents presented when purchasing land or anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to hold the comments just to this as it is stated, but I do appreciate your standpoint as taxpayer. All right, the issue at hand is rezoning.
There's another.
Oh,
One public comment.
Okay?
Hello,
Hi.
Hello.
my name's Carl Ross, I live next door. The 203 Prairie address. I just have 2 recommendations since you've rezoned already. Number 1, it'd be a great place for city parking. Cities always complain about not having enough parking in the downtown area. The building is one thing, but that empty lot would be a great parking for the city and for the downtown businesses. And number 2, if you're not going to be keeping parking and somebody is going to buy it, please specify something in there called zoning to make it part of the historical district as far as the guidelines they have to follow. Since my backyard will be facing that 100% of the time, I like to have something for people to look at instead of a tall metal building.
Right. It is in historical district, right?
correct.
Yep. 100%.
I know the line is somewhere over here.
Is it still open for questions?
Okay, better.
Comments? If you
Yes,
go to
ma'am.
the-
Okay. I'm Stephanie. Hello. I just have one question.
Okay.
I'm relatively new. Those folks that I introduced are new. Would you all be a little more clarifying where these places are that y'all are talking about in the town, so we all know the property y'all are referring to? Like, I had to ask somebody where, I've seen Prairie Street, I've walked Prairie Street, doesn't mean I know Prairie Street. And the folks that are new, if you could tell us a little more about these things, places, thanks.
This property is just north of the 203 Prairie that was purchased by the city, that is right behind the steakhouse. So if you go just north, there's a parcel of land there that's basically half of parcel, I guess.
It's all the green space.
Yeah, and it's 100% in the historic zone. Planning and zoning asked that question, and that was well answered as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
And Carl, I
Questions?
sympathize with you, and I appreciate your comments.
Yes.
Did we receive any letters back?
No letters back.
Thank you.
No others? All right, it's 6:20, and we are out of public hearing. Going on to item 5, consideration possible action on an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending the zoning classifications as defined in the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, for a .225 acre tract situated in the John Corner Survey, abstract number 8AA, commonly referred to as 203 Prairie Street, Montgomery, Texas, from R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District as found on the city's official zoning map to B, Commercial Zoning District classification, and to amend the official zoning map, providing a savings clause, providing a repealing clause, and providing an effective date. I'm sorry, my time is over. An effective date upon passage and publication. Stan, you've gotten real good at that.
He's very good at what he
This
does.
is the actual ordinance that I would make the rezoning act official. I'll draw your attention at your seats. There is an amended Exhibit A that is a color map, shows the zoning around the parcel. We'd like to substitute the survey of the property with this location map as the exhibit to the ordinance. And there's an amended motion there, or an updated motion staple to it. But I'm glad to answer any questions that the city attorney can.
So just to clarify what's going on, the last 3 items of the agenda, including this one, all have to do with rezoning of the same property, right? Yeah, just to make that clear.
Okay, any further discussion? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to rezone the property to Class B commercial and adopt ordinance with the 203 Prairie Street location map attached as Exhibit A.
Do I have a second? Second is by Stan. The motion is debatable. Amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 6 as stated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. We will approve item 6 as stated.
It was item 5.
Item 5, yeah.
Excuse me, item 6. 5, never mind.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Item 5 as stated. Ahead of myself. So excited about item 6. Consider appointment of a fellow named John Fox to Planning and Zoning Commission, Place 1.
Members of council, you have the application in the packet, as well as Mr. Fox here, if you'd like to ask him any questions.
John, would you introduce yourself, please?
At the podium.
Go to the podium. Tell us where you were born,
Favorite color?
how it was.
Don't give us your life history.
Your favorite wife?
We'll have time.
What do I know about planning and zoning? I spent 27 years working for the Woodlands Corporation. I sit on the Design Standards Committee for the Woodlands Development. I've been a licensed inspector for Canada. Been a licensed manager. Been 45 years home doing business.
Thank you, John.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for volunteering to give your time to
Yes,
help the
thank you.
city.
I think it's kind of a no-brainer. He's highly qualified. He's still working on his wife in terms of getting everything.
No personal comments.
I better pull back here on that one.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint John Fox to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Place 1.
Motion by Sarah and a second by Casey. Motion's debatable, amendable, required majority vote. All in favor of approving John Fox to the P&Z Commission, Place 1, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Say no, and there are none. Thank you, John, for serving.
Welcome again.
Real quick, Alan, did we have to state publicly that Cheryl recused herself?
I did not vote.
I know, but did we have to state it publicly that she recused herself?
Yes, it's got to go down as the vote.
You need to state that for the record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please state that for the record.
Then for the
I will
record,
state that I did not vote. Yeah, I could have voted no.
No, you can't. You have to recuse
that's what I was,
yourself.
I did not vote on this
very good.
item 6.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Got that, Diana?
So I understand item 7 has been withdrawn.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So going to item 8, consideration and possible action on calling a public hearing to be held on December 12, 2023 at 6 p.m. related to a zoning request for approximately 3 acres of land near the intersection of Klepper Street and CB Stewart Drive from B commercial to I institutional.
Mayor and Council, the Woodlands Methodist Church is the potential purchaser here, and so they've asked us to give just 5-10 minute presentation of the why behind the request. So with that, I'm going to switch over to slideshows and turn the floor over.
Well, Mayor, council members, thank you for your time. My name is Jeff Wallace, and I serve as the pastor of New Church Development for the Woodlands Methodist Church. Oversee part of the vision of the church. I'm going to pull up a slide deck here. The Woodlands Methodist Church was founded in 1978. It's a large church, about 14,000 members. We have 3 locations and 7 venues, which we have multiple services each week. We're in the process, so there's me on the left, Suzanne Bird, our architect. She's not with us tonight. She's at planning and zoning. She'll be with us in the future again. And we have Mike Christopher with us as well, who's on the property locations. Our mission as a church is to reach people for Jesus, disciple in the faith, and help those in need. We have kind of a 5-point vision, but I'm here just to speak about one piece of this, and this is to start 3 new worshiping communities over the next 3 to 5 years. This is part of what we've been doing in our work recently in Montgomery with the church at Montgomery, which has launched in Oak Hills Junior High, meets off Keenan Cutoff Road Sunday mornings under the leadership of Dave Matthews and David Lindwall, pastors who are here with us this evening. Right now, we worship, we average over 100 there meeting on Sunday morning as we are getting our start in this community. We're excited to be part of the communities in which we're joining. This is an exciting time every time we get to come to a community because we really do have a heart to help those in need, reach the community, invest. We believe that we are been great partners with the communities we've been part of. We love the connections that we have in terms of building up the community, providing amenities, like our Wood Forest campus has. It has pickleball courts, and they're not in a historic district. And so this is like a win-win for everyone. But all kidding aside, we do, our purpose really is to reach people through multiple ways and to be involved in the schools and the community, to make it a place where people enjoy living and working and worshiping and growing. We have, to that end, we've been looking for a location, for a permanent location. We can meet in a school, but look, setting up and tearing down after a while gets tired. And so we're looking for a permanent location to be part of the community. We identified about 5 locations, and we narrowed it down to one that we really liked. The location there is at the corner of Klepper and C.B. Stewart. And for orientation, for not names, that's across from Ransom's Steakhouse. So, you know where Ransom's is. That is the location. It's 14 acres in that location. You can see it on the presenting map. There's a second one that zoomed in a little bit. There's a subject site there at the corner of Klepper and C.B. Stewart. And that is the acreage that we are talking about tonight. We just want to have a few moments to tell you about and some of our excitement, but also a few challenges that we might have. On the next slide, you'll see those red marks. Those are people who have affiliation with the Woodlands Methodist Church. So, and that is a 5-mile radius from the location that we're talking about. So we just did a 5-mile radius location from that Tucker and City Stewart. And these are people that we have a relationship, either members, guests, some kind of relationship of that nature. So we have the connected base of people who live in this community. And rather than saying to people, hey, drive and come and see us, we want to be part of your community and be part of you. On the next slide, you'll see a conceptual site plan. This has been done by Jackson and Ryan architects who have heard. This is an orientation that faces the C.D. Stewart. This is conceptual. This is not a final drawing, but we did want to have something for y'all to see and understand. And we understand we are coming here early, and we're not sure where all this is going to lead, but we just think it's good to be to bring awareness so that you understand, so we can keep in good communication as this progresses further. So that is a conceptual site plan. On the next few slides, you'll see this is our Wood Forest campus, and we are currently in a building addition at Wood Forest. You can see the next slide as well, and another, and then a final, I believe. The structure there is wood and glass, steel and stone. Our hope and our attempt is to mirror what the community is looking like and build that is in line with the community and what we think is kind of a community ethos and ethic. And so this has been our design for Wood Forest. We have grown and continue to grow, and so we are right now expanding our worship center, children's ministry space. We have, as I said, we have gymnasium with pickleball courts and other amenities there. So we're really excited. We did just simply want to come and say hello and introduce ourselves and tell you that we are in this process of looking, and we'll be glad to answer questions. But I also have Mike Christopher here. This particular property has some timelines and some challenges for us, which we may or may not be able to meet. So we'll let him speak a little into that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And if I remember correctly, pickleball is not prohibited even in the book of Leviticus. So we can go ahead and clear that hurdle right there.
Leviticus 3, it says nothing about it.
All right, thank y'all.
He's got
Oh, you got another
one.
one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm Mike Christopher. I'm a civil engineer by trade, but in working as in the capacity of a volunteer project manager for the church in this search. And one thing I'll say is Dave and Chris and Alan's firm have been great in communication and calls and emails with us as we kind of got this property under contract and understood the zoning things that we need to get through, possibly some flying issues we need to get through. I wanted to share some of those with y'all. Now we're doing the action on those things tonight. We're kind of putting those wheels in motion, but we do have a short fuse where we are under a feasibility period that expires in late December. And if we don't find the path to success, we're going to have to cancel the contract because we're working with donated money. So one of those challenges is zoning. So what I've got there on the screen is the property that we have under contract, and the area that is shaded blue or cyan is currently in a PD zone, which we understand will allow us to use the land for a church development. Currently, the yellow area is zoned commercial, and what we've been instructed is that yellow area is going to have to be rezoned institutional, and so that's the action that we'll take tonight to call for that public hearing for the next meeting. I'd love if we could, again, something for deliberation, probably out with your city staff outside of this council meeting, but just thinking about the amount of money that we're going to invest in this property, there is always a chance that we don't move forward with, we've got to raise the funds to build this church. There's always a downside chance that that doesn't move forward after we buy the property, and we're going to have to sell the property. And then part of it is zoned as institutional. There's very limited buyers for that. So I'm hoping there's going to be, we can work out some way to have some provisional clauses and some zoning changes, and I think that's yet to be discussed. So that's one challenge that we have. But I think as far as the process of rezoning, we know what that process looks like. We're already starting that process now. Next slide. So the other challenge that we may have is the property was platted as a restricted reserve for commercial only, and it was platted with the adjacent single-family lots when that subdivision of the estates of Lake Creek Village was platted, whenever that occurred. So the current thinking from your staff and your attorney that I've kind of looked at the law and the rules and everything is that we'll have to do a replat of that restricted reserve because I guess how we understand the restricted reserve is commercial will not allow for a church to be developed there. So, and as we understand the process of getting that plat replatted or partially replatted may also require the 22 single-family lot owners adjacent to the reserve to also sign off on that instrument. And that's going to be a pretty challenging thing to get done. And we're ready to go to Lock Walk on Sunday, but we've got to get to the point of we know what the document looks like, and we can talk to these folks about this is why we're coming to you, and this is what we're asking you to sign off on. There's a concern, and I think that your city staff and city attorney are still looking at it as to whether, I mean, typically when we do a new plat, you also have to have lien holder sign off. And so if we also have to ask the mortgage lenders of these 22 lot owners to also have to sign off on that, probably doesn't work. And so we've got a short fuse to figure some of these things out, and I know your staff and your city attorney will help us through those, finding a path, and maybe there's a out-of-the-box path that doesn't require this to be changed to institutional. We've kind of yet to figure that out. But we're hoping we can get to those issues because we really like the property. It's at a great price and a great location, and what looks to be the future part of this community as it continues to develop the property that's involved around it. So those are our kind of zoning and planning challenges that we are faced with. Next slide. And then I understand that this property has been proposed to be developed a couple of different times by previous buyers and through the materials that were given to us by the seller. We understand the last buyer was proposing to do maybe a dense single-family residential community. And so they showed us that when they provided that site plan. I think as you can see, our plan use, we've got a lot of green space left, probably not as much paving as a dense single-family use would be or a dense commercial use would be. So we feel like we're going to be a good neighbor for the adjacent neighbors and the whole community there. So I'm just hoping there can be a path forward for success on this applying these other challenges. So I believe that's all we have. Do you have any questions?
I do. How do you do that with Ransoms? Because Ransoms sells alcoholic beverages. Doesn't there some TABC that would be prohibitive?
So I believe because they were there first, or their grandfather, or I think we would be willing to sign some kind of waiver when it's required. I have met with
Is there? I mean, do you know that is something that
So it's 300
TABC
feet, right?
would allow?
So it's 300 feet, so because Ransom is there first, they would have to adjust their location and get 300 feet away.
And then what about the little putt-putt golf across there? I don't really know that they ever serve alcoholic beverages, but is there any issues there?
No, they're far enough away because they're farther down.
Yeah,
Well, it is a little bit further down.
It's something we need to look into, but we'll have to come back.
So I have a question. You decide to put in a school, and on that strip, there's a lot of commercial there. So would that prohibit if right across next to Ransom's, maybe a Joe's Crab Shack, I don't know, wants to go in and they serve alcohol, or there's a retail center that goes in, would that prevent, or would there, because of the school also has provisions as well when it comes to alcohol. Would y'all forego that, or how would that work? Is there?
It's not up to them.
I'm sorry?
It's not up to them. It's TC, it's
No,
state
I
law.
understand, but if they are within the 300 feet or from door to door, because I looked it up, if it's under that, or they could say, look.
They have to adjust. It's state law. It's not
Right,
up to
but
them.
the secondary, I just want to make sure there wasn't going to be saying, hey, by the way, no other alcohol can be sold on this road. That's all I'm asking. It's like making sure that there's no other provisions or.
As long as they get 300 feet away.
Well, And currently it's under a PD, and that expires January, right? So are you trying to get in under that?
The actual zoning of the PD won't
Yeah.
change. The development agreement expires in January, but the PD zoning is its own PD until the city changes.
Says otherwise.
PD.
So to the zoning, my question was for Alan. Can we do a contingency? We agree to rezone on contingent that they move forward, but otherwise it wouldn't rezone. Because I don't want to go through all the motions to
And then turn
rezone it and then their project falls through and then we have to rezone it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I need to add to that, I mean, until we close, the seller probably won't let, right?
Right, yeah, because,
There definitely needs to be that,
right.
but we need to know that we can successfully rezone.
I don't know what other, is there any other considerations that we need to take into consideration that, because we don't have any of our ordinances here or any, we should potentially think about?
We're just getting preliminary to set,
Tonight, you're just.
We're just
calling
calling
yes,
it a
we're just calling a
understood.
public hearing.
Understood.
So that gives you, the whole month to come up with new questions that you can have addressed at that hearing.
So I'd spent some time reviewing the code of ordinances and zoning. There's a table
Yep.
with zoning across the top, and there's, many detailed uses.
Yeah.
And I would love if the church use could be in more than one zone, because if the church use could be in a commercial zone, there would be a lot of flexibility. I haven't talked to them about it, but it would certainly, in my mind, not require all of this rezoning and re-platting, because it would be a permitted use in a commercial
The
district.
problem with that would fall on the tax, right? Because of the way it's zoned. When we zone it institutional,
So you're taxed on your actual use of the property. So, just changing the zoning wouldn't change.
okay.
change the
Good.
tax.
Okay.
Is the 3 acres part of the 14-acre parcel?
It's the whole part.
The whole thing is 14 acres and 3 acres needs to be
So
changed?
yes, the whole tract is 14 acres, and of the 14 acres, or 3 of the 14 acres needs to be rezoned institutional. And the PD zone allows institutional already.
I noticed on your preliminary drawing, it looks like there's 3 structures there. My only question is, do you have any idea what size sanctuary you're going to build or want to build? I mean, how many people will it sit? Because that's going to determine how much parking you have available. You got to have so much parking for so many number of people to get into the sanctuary.
Oh, absolutely. And I think as they, if we were successful in acquiring the site, we were really only looking for a 10-acre site. So I think we have ample space to expand both in the building footprints and the parking lot footprints. And there will be a phasing plan that the architect comes up with to allow for that expansion. I think the initial last one was 300, possibly, 300 per station.
Okay.
Do you go from corner to corner, or is that a plot that's commercial?
So there is, what you see in green on the left, the entirety of that tract was platted. What is offered for sale is just, it excludes, there is a 2-acre corner.
Okay, that's what I was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
That's the whole left.
It was shaded over there, and I'm like, I don't know if it goes all the way or if it's, okay. Good. And that's zoned commercial, I'm assuming?
Can you back up one slide?
It will be within the PD
Two
still.
slides. There you go.
There we go. Okay, yeah, okay, there you go, thank you.
So the cyan bluish color is not proposed for a zoning change to yellow.
Yeah.
Because it's currently commercial. And based on current regulations, it needs to be changed to institutional.
And then, but to the piece that Sarah's referring
Yeah,
to,
the
do you
white
know
one.
how that's zoned?
The other corner.
It's in the blue zone.
It's blue also, it's
Oh,
residential.
okay. Really? It's commercial? It's commercial.
No, it's residential. Yellow is the commercial.
So that blue zone, that designates, they allow, it's in the mixed use zone.
Oh, mixed use, okay.
Which would allow for essentially for anything except for industrial.
Gotcha. Mixed
Which is
use.
allowed by right in the blue zone.
So I don't know if there's an option to make the yellow, reason the yellow as the blue, to have that flexibility, because then at least the whole tract is under one zoning regulation, and then it's
Sure.
also the same flexibility as the blue. That would help us a lot with that underlining if we had to.
That makes sense.
Well, I certainly hope the grace of God that you get all the donations and pledges and
Cool.
It's a good looking product. It's a good looking product.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sure, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can see the recommendation that's needed to set a public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to hold a public hearing on the rezoning request to be held on December the 12th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. at City Hall.
I second.
Motion by Carol, second by Casey. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of item 8 as stated, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve the public hearing as stated. Item 9, consider amendment to the personnel policy to remove cost of living allowance restrictions.
Mayor and council, so Gary has worked on this, and as you noticed, he is not here this evening. But again, so I've not reviewed or worked on this project with him, but again, my understanding is that we are removing the I guess, the conditions that a COLA would have to be across the board for all employees. This does two things. One, it allows for any employee who is, and then the second thing is it allows for, I believe that this is going to be tied to the compensation study that will be done this year. So someone will have a metric of where their salary range is to understand why they did or did not get a COLA increase, and it's based on the pay to the compensation scale.
So in order to, just to follow up with this motion, with this agenda item, in order for us to follow through with the COLAs that we passed for earlier with the budget, we have to adjust our policy.
Yes.
So just a reminder.
They go into effect in January.
Does that have to be done now?
Well, if we table it, we'd have to pass it by the 12th.
Right, we have to do it before January.
When?
January?
We have to pass
We
it
won't
on
be
our next
within our
meeting.
ordinances if we don't, our policies.
So we have one meeting in December. The next meeting in November is canceled or postponed because of Thanksgiving, and our
Right.
second meeting in December is also because it falls on Christmas. So we have this meeting and one more to pass it.
Well, it's up to y'all. I'd rather table it because I don't see any of Mr. Palmer's black strikeouts and red fill-ins. I don't know what exactly he's changing, so everything I've got is in black and white, but,
Well, I mean, based on what you read, was there anything you didn't like?
no, that's fine. Looks good. But I don't know where the changes are. But it's just,
Well, the biggest change was we had to change the policy from stating across the board on a
for
COLA,
any of them
or
to
we could
specific
select.
ones.
That was the biggest change.
Is that the only change or the biggest change?
That's the biggest change.
Yeah, there was two
and we took
changes.
out the
It'd be
supervisors.
nice to know
And I
what the
don't know
changes
what
are.
the second one was.
Well, it has to do with relating the COLA, future COLA to wage studies.
Right, there's a clause in there about tying it to the classification chart.
Has that been ordered?
I don't send it part of this next budget this year. But we can table it until he gets back if we want the explanation.
Yes, you can.
Take the motion, Stan.
I'd like to make a motion to table item number 9 until further information is provided with the changes on, just to double check, not assume.
Yeah,
I
no,
second it.
understand.
Motion
I'll
to table, second by Carol. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of table and item 9, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. We'll approve a, what we just do? Table.
We need to take details. Yeah, we're
We
tabling it.
tabled item 9. All right.
So we'll know what the changes
Yeah,
were.
we just want to know what the changes were.
Thank you.
Item 10, consideration to approve a resolution to join the Houston-Galveston Area Council.
Mayor and council, I don't have any information on this item, but I assume that Gary's been talking to Bill about it.
It's with you, huh?
Yeah, he's been speaking to me about it. I've been working to redevelop relations with HGAC, had a good preliminary meeting with the highest up to try to establish relations enough to where we can get consideration for our needs, whether it be revitalization downtown needs, transportation needs, whatever it is. And they were very good to send the higher ups and not just dilly-dally around about it. So we're going to follow that up with a meeting, another meeting, and going around the town with various staff later to be named. But for now, I'm also in somewhat of a cohort, so to speak, with other area mayors and economic development corporation representatives to try to establish a network of people who have the same considerations for our transportation woes, for the revitalization, whatever it is. So we're making regional relationships, maybe even partnerships, squeaking the wheel in a broader spectrum for ourselves. It literally, if you look at the map and the times that I've dabbled with this, Montgomery County as a whole is not well represented of the 13 counties this institute, that thing does. And our end of the county especially. There's just no money, we're not even on the map. So what we're trying to do is get put on the map. That meeting that I'll be having is December the 15th. They haven't got back with me with particulars of the staff meeting. I suspect that'll be sometime in January. But anyway, we'll be doing that, and it kind of correlates to some respect with bringing in that TxDOT advisory committee that we have going. We've literally been blessed to have county representative that we found out in that initial meeting not only has TxDOT ties to the county engineer, but she also happens to have good connections with HGAC. So I'm like, wow, that's really good. So that's, I talked to Gary, I said, you know what, if we don't try, how do we know, right? And so that's the thought, and the future yet to be named economic development director, this is going to be a big part of their task, is to keep that type of thing going. So it's a full-time effort to get Montgomery's needs front and center to the people who may be able to help us with the money that we desperately need.
That's what I was going to ask. Who's responsible for this relationship moving forward? Who's going to go to the meetings? Who's going to be the representative? Because I know that the meetings happen in Houston or even south of Houston, and that's been part of the conundrum of engaging. So who specifically is going to be the face of Montgomery at HGAC, the Houston-Galveston Area Council?
For now, it'll be me and council until we get the staff to do.
So you are committed to go down there for every meeting?
Every single meeting? No way. That's why I said me or council. So be ready for a phone call.
Yeah,
I can't make it, one of them may have to go. If we can't make it, then we'll have to
What
appeal the staff.
is the membership fee?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the cost? I didn't see the
I
cost.
don't remember what the cost is, but it's not, we didn't write it down in here anywhere.
Did we budget for the cost?
Was it
No.
It may be in this
$50 or is it
resolution.
$100?
Yeah,
It's not
thousands?
huge. I thought it was in here.
Yeah, I didn't
There's-
see it either.
It's
There
not
wasn't a
in there.
page before it to tell us anything about it. I
Okay.
thought we were already members of
The
HG.
other question is, because we are on the other side of the whole region from where the meetings are generally held, Is there a requirement of how many meetings we can or can't miss?
No.
No.
It's strictly representation as you see
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you need to take your specific needs to the specific council meetings. You don't need to go every single day to quote-unquote HGAC. So if your needs are transportation, an area that's been a difficulty for HGAC, they had to replace a transportation head, for example. They were in limbo, didn't have one, so that lingered for a while. This group that I met with, two of the four members that came were new. And so it seems to be sort of like that, and like government agencies.
But they're very well aware who goes, and if you're there all the time,
And the biggest,
you get recognized and
you get
potentially get
recognized,
some
no
money.
doubt.
But if we don't go, then we don't get, kind of where we are today.
That's pretty much what it is. And there's another part of that is, and that's where I was being very specific, is we get put out because we get classified as wealthy. And I took them around the first group, I took around the city to show them. I said, you see over there in Walter Road and Lake, y'all are calling that quote unquote Montgomery. We don't get that ad belong. We don't, so show me wealth again. So I took them to the holistic assessment of the city. And I found that out several months ago when I went to Conroe to a meeting. And it turns out other cities felt like they were misrepresented, that they were classified in such a way as to completely be kicked out.
Did you go to that meeting
of grants?
That they had in Conroe?
Yes, and that's where I found out the demographics were wrong. So that may explain some of the
Well, I was
past
going to go to that
frustrations.
meeting and I signed up, but I found out that we weren't members, so I didn't go.
That's not, far before that is when I found out we dropped our membership. But again, I don't know how much the cost is. If you want to table it, we can, because I'll have that meeting on December 15th and have more for you. When Gary gets back, we'll assess the whole picture if you want.
I felt like the cost was in the thousands. Like, I don't know, is it 5,000, is it 2,000, I don't know, but I don't think it's in the $100. So personally, I think, I'd like to make a motion to table it until we get more information.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Second, I heard Cheryl first. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of tabling item 10, say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we will table item 10. And Dave, if you would get that message to Gary, please. All right, executive session. We have one still? All right, adjourn into closed executive session is authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Government Code of the State of Texas, 551. All right, Diane, you ready? It is 7:37. We have returned from executive session. Are there any motions? We have none. Council inquiry.
So I had one earlier for the chief. I spoke to him right before executive session concerning Miss Marion's,
Walker?
Miss Walker's concerns with planning and zoning and basically whether or not we have any teeth or where we're willing to enforce it. The whole asking for permission versus asking for forgiveness, we need to make sure that doesn't happen. So I visited with Chief and Ms. Tilly. We do have ordinances that will allow us to fine them. My suggestion is that we do. So.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Chief, since you're here, thank you. I have a question. Do we have a new code enforcement officer?
No.
Did you check your watch?
Well, I watched the PNZ meeting and there was a new code enforcement officer introduced and I thought, I didn't know that we had another officer. I didn't know if we needed one. So who was that you introduced as code enforcement officer, Dave?
I think I introduced our utility and permit tech, and likely said that she is also a code enforcement. She also has a certification for code enforcement.
That person gave advice to P&Z, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not our code enforcement officer. I don't think that they're, if that's, it didn't sound like Tilly. So I was just curious because it was like, this is our code enforcement officer, this is a code enforcement officer. It was said twice. I'm like, do we get somebody new? And then they, well, I rewound it a few times. And then they gave advice, and I don't know if that is so if that was the water utility lady, she's giving code enforcement advice? About the $500. It was all about fining.
It was $500. Did it have to do with public utilities?
No, it had to do with the turf being put down at the White House over there.
Turf issue.
So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm so confused. Why is there a new officer? I hadn't heard, and why are they talking about our codes, our ordinances? Secondly, I had a resident contact me today via text. They went to our website to use our GIS services, and it asked for a login from a company called Quiddity. They texted me and they said, hey, I can't, what's going on? Do you have a login for me? I'm like, let me find out. So I contacted Quiddity, who is Jones and Carter, I had no idea. Spoke to a gentleman named Matt, and he let me know that he had contacted you about 3 months ago to let you know that our GIS agreement was expiring because they're no longer our engineer. And there's no GIS services on, and that you have all the files on a thumb drive.
We have all the data, right?
Yeah, all the data. So that's, because he said that's the cities. So can you upload that onto our website? There's more people, there's a lot of people that use it.
No, what we need to do is find another GIS provider to do that. It's not data that you can just upload. It's so,
well,
I have a good website, but getting the zoning maps and things like that, they're on the website, but as far as the interactive system.
Yeah. So if somebody's needing files, who do they contact? If somebody's needing GIS, what are we doing today for that?
They would just do a public information request. If they were looking for zoning, they would just do a public information request. But in terms of GIS data.
But they weren't looking for zoning. They were looking for easement for water.
That type of stuff is generally not.
It's on the GIS. They could see where the culverts were. She's always gone here. She's always used it.
I have no idea. I know GIS files are not normal files. You're not just going to upload them on your...
I don't know, but I'm just saying that we used to have it, now we don't have it, and they're used, and he said, you have everything. So I talked to Matt, and he's like, yeah, I have everything on a thumb drive. You should have access to it. I gave it all to Dave, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the first I've heard, and I didn't, like Jones and Carter. It's funny, he said, there's no Jones and Carter. I'm like, well, rest in peace. And he said, well, there's Carter, rest in peace, but Jones is still here. But anyway, and then third, that Cajun restaurant, there's no parking for that restaurant. We haven't gotten a variance for that.
Right, the building is existing, it was a restaurant before. I don't know how we're gonna tell this guy when Damon Haynes came in and said we're gonna open up a restaurant. here, there's no parking on the site.
But Damon owned the White House then,
Yeah,
so
he
he owned all the property.
He used the parking of the White House.
Yeah.
That's what he used.
So now it's
He told
separated.
the city that was definitely most certainly not a commercial parking lot, that was a residential driveway, and then he had no obligations at all to follow any of the development regulations.
But then he was also charged commercial taxes on that, and then he had to change it over to commercial zoning. And so that's why it's being used for what it's being used for today, or what's going to be used for. So again, how are we having a restaurant with no parking? This is a problem.
If you guys would like to rule on whether or not this business has the right to, by right to open at all, and it be usable property, we'll certainly bring it to you.
Has he been advised of our parking ordinance?
Now, I'm not sure what you would do to create parking where there is not space today to create parking. We're not talking about a greenfield where you can allocate some space to building, some space to, there is none, so I don't know.
But has that been discussed? Hey, there's an ordinance for so many parking spots for a business. You understand that you are going to be, maybe it's with Damon and him, but because Damon's the landlord and he's the renter, but this restaurant,
Well, I have no problem with a variant, but we need to be presented in one.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and he needs to know that this is not,
We will.
Yeah, need to get ahead of that one, because that's going to be an issue for the two partnerships
Put your
there.
employees.
yeah, right, where's his employees gonna park?
Yeah.
Where is the wine men? Where do they park at? Right in front?
And
Well,
they're using Jules.
Technically, they park in Paul Rush's lot, even though the signs say, they're
Right.
zoned for Paul Rush's, building, but there's no parking there at the
There's-
First State Bank if you don't.
There's
count that.
businesses downtown that don't have
Exactly.
parking.
Right, there's-
That, they have also behind the Pets, people park
Pets,
there
yeah,
in Kevin,
that's
and that's for the bank building, and then people park over at Cozy, but,
So behind the pet.
this has all been new reconstructed
Behind the Pets,
versus
there's
that was
several
all, yeah,
spots.
there's
So that's the thing. So who gets, because that property behind the pets doesn't belong to the bank building?
yes, it is, there's the
Yes,
same
it is.
owner, yes, it is.
100%?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
because
Fauces,
that
Gerald,
passing lane
yes,
was a problem, yeah.
They all own it.
yeah,
So they can use the same parking spots for two
Well,
businesses?
because-
Count twice?
yeah,
Because Pets closes at 5.
Yes.
and that doesn't open, I think, till 4, I don't know what time it opens.
Just wondering.
Yeah, no,
We
good
count the same
questions.
space twice with two different
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, we got plenty of parking.
I'll move back with the
We'll just
attorneys.
keep counting.
Yeah, I just,
To you guys.
if we've got ordinances, we've got to go by our ordinances, and whether it's a funky situation or not, we still have to go by our ordinances. That's exactly what Miriam was saying, and it's,
I'll bring it back to you.
we need to do that.
Okay.
And then one more thing, I'm done. Trash administration fees, we approved that 2.5% to be added onto the waste management. Waste management fees have been added, but my last two bills have not had the 2.5% city administration fees added on. And we based our budget that we accepted on those fees. Do we know when those fees are going to be added?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything to
Okay.
do with that, but I will find out and make sure that you get an answer.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Now, where would I find that fee? What are you talking
so
about?
remember when we approved, waste management went up to 2.5%. Then the city went up 2.5% on their administrative fees. Remember, it was a total of 5%. And waste management is collecting their 2.5%. The city of Montgomery is not collecting their 2.5% currently. And so we took that into account when we accepted our budget. It started in September, but the last two bills we've not collected that additional 2.5%.
Might be something Mary Ann and Mike might get it to you, and you can get it to the council, what you find out.
Well, Nikki and Mary Ann. those
Or
are
Nikki
the
and
two
Mary
that,
Ann, yeah.
But I'll run this by Gary and find out, like I said, I'm
Okay.
not involved with it to have an answer for you, but I'll get one.
Okay.
Okay, I have one.
list.
Now, I have one. Alan, how do we move on forward with getting the term of council moved from 2 years to 3 years on an election ballot?
So that would take an action by council to
to set that up as a proposition on your next regular municipal election?
I thought we only had a discussion. I don't think
Yeah, it was
we-
just a
wasn't on the
there was,
agenda.
it was on the agenda, but we
I
didn't,
meant, but it wasn't an action item.
it wasn't an action item.
On the agenda.
So next agenda, we have to have an action item where we vote for it or against it. Is that correct?
No,
Well, no,
it doesn't go that fast.
Huh?
You have to decide to move that direction, then there's a period of time for a public hearing that needs to be set,
Right.
right? So I think if I'm hearing it, and if the council is interested in that, and we seem like we were interested in that before, is the council wanting to go that direction, or at least visit it?
But I
Stan's
still
doing
have
his head like this.
I still have a question with that, because kind of the goal would be, so we're not swiping the whole council out every 3 years. We
Yeah.
we want to do two, 2, and 2.
Stagger it.
Right? But how do we do that? Because it would interrupt a term.
Grandfather people in.
But it,
You can't.
But what you said would be 3 and 3.
It would be 3 and
But
3,
there's a-
but then you're
there's a dead
swiping
year.
out half the council.
Yeah.
but
I'm
how,
trying to avoid
because,
that.
because you are right. 2 years, really, things.
You don't get much done.
You don't get much done. So a 3-year term, like you say, you could change them out and it would not disrupt everything in the
Right,
council.
but, okay, so we go ahead and swipe out, we get it changed to 3, right? We're still gonna swipe, half the council gets changed out in 3 years. Because that's how it falls.
The only
In
way
order to
you
go
can-
2, 2, and 2, we have to interrupt the term.
Like 2 years, 2 years, 2 years.
Yes.
The
Like
only
1, 2,
way you're
3.
going to solve this problem is for the people that are running to keep running. What happens is they run for 2 years, and either they, for whatever reason, they don't want to run again. Well, that stops the continuity of whatever you're trying to do. If they don't want to run again, that's their choice, but you can't stop it unless the people want to keep running.
It has nothing to do with whether they run or don't run. Because
so-
half the council, whether we do it 2 years or 3 years,
It's
is
still
changed out.
changing out.
Right.
So y'all want to just,
Well, we have
No.
to figure out how to get it broke up so we can have an
I
election
think year
every
one,
year.
yeah.
So,
So oftentimes, the procedure draw straws to see
I don't see
who gets the shorter terms and who gets the longer terms. I can double check the election code to see, if that's still what the procedure is. I haven't done this in a while, but, and the last time I had a city do it about 10 years ago, they went from 2-year terms to 4-year terms. So it was a little bit easier
then 3.
yeah.
four is the maximum, the state requires, 4 is the
So
maximum.
would we consider 4 then, if that's an easier path? And it still gives the new people 2 years of continuity with the old people.
Dayton did change to 3 last October. They voted to change to 3, so they're just now, or they just went through one of their deals. It might be worthy of checking with Dayton, because they're not a similar sized city with the same number of seats, and see how they did it.
In fact, I know there's.
Well, that's what I said, I should give the case
Okay.
Do that.
Well, so here's
Well, that's what I
one.
want.
The cost of the elections have gone up, right? Every time we do that, now it's whatever it is,
That is
25.
true. The cost of the election is
So if
ridiculous.
we would cut that in half
You would.
Yep. So 10 grand
if it
or 8
went to
grand.
4 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
So how are we going to move forward? Because,
Well, it sounds like we need to do some more talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I get more information?
okay.
There's a workshop coming up, Alan. You may get with Gary if you find some things out and include that in that next workshop in December.
Alan, would you define how, that we need to proceed the next time we have a workshop?
Sure.
Thank you.
I just saw Tilly, can we have a code here for ordinances when we're talking about properties and stuff like that, just to make sure that, like, the historic ordinances are taken into account and other ordinances? I mean, is that possible? Well, so I think like at P&Z, do you go to P&Z meetings at all? I didn't, well, you weren't there? No. Okay, because that's where some of these ordinances are dropping off and we're coming back behind ourselves and getting people upset. Do you go to, well, do you see any holes? Do you see anything that we can get ahead of? For instance, this church. I like the fact that they're coming to us just to say, hey, there's something on, well, this is what we're thinking of. Great, come here. Here's all the information you need to know up front and things that you need to consider. And so that all starts at P&Z. before it gets to us, mostly. Yeah. So do you go to P&Z, or can you go to P&Z and say, okay, here's all the ordinances, and these are all the considerations you need to take part in before going in front of council. We need to satisfy these conditions.
Well, even if she doesn't make it to P&Z meetings, if she could get the agenda and just kind of address the ones that may have code, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where we know this church is going to be, it has to be 300 feet
What do we need
away
to
from-
consider? Because I know
from
there's a lot of considerations.
serving.
So you're asking me to do like a code review?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it's
Well,
called.
just based on the agenda items, right? So, you
Yeah.
know, if you get the P&Z agenda and you see something on there that says, hey, this probably has something to do with the ordinance, right? Or here's our ordinance that enforces this. This is why we're here, right? This is why we got the guy out here with the AstroTurf that's giving us hell. We need to present him with that ordinance at that time.
Or the purple building that has the lights that are like a runway in the back. That was never told that, I guess, that we have a historical lighting ordinance. So, I mean, these are the things that we need to make sure are done. And then when they come in front of council, I don't know if you can be part of that presentation, or you can say, yes, they have satisfied everything, or yes, they've been informed.
So what is it you're asking?
Our code enforcement officer, or somebody that knows code enforcement, our ordinances, to come forward and make sure that what we are approving, we know that they're within ordinance, that they are, yes, we bless this. Because I feel like we are going back through and things get presented to us that we don't, I'm like, I don't know if this is with our code of ordinances or not.
So you like asking her to look at that just on the agenda, just to see what's on the people?
Well, if there's documentation, because we don't get documentation on ordinances on items, which would be nice to have, like, okay, these are the ordinances we need to know. Do they satisfy this? Because I don't know every ordinance. I don't think anybody up here. I don't think anybody in this room. Go ahead.
So I think it kind of, to help with that, it depends on the type of development. So most of these issues that have come up are not, in the site planning phase, it's relatively easy. Because
Yeah.
we're going through the plan review, we check parking code, we check those.
Yeah.
When they're new buildings, greenfield sites, things like that. So, I think those ordinances were just covered.
Right.
The gray area is a lot of, I think where a lot of the issues are downtown, historic district, and these rebuilds, modifications that, the Crawfish Place, the 504 Caroline, where it's all these little ones, maybe just kind of for clarity, I think
You have a report.
you're asking
Yes.
more about those items.
You are correct.
These new greenfield items, so it's not every single.
No, not every single. No.
Here's the plan.
No, just, yeah, you are correct. Thank you for putting that into words.
What are you asking her to look at? Because
No, not all that, I guess, but we have most issue with downtown. And so that downtown, to make sure that they are going in accordance to, because I hate seeing people rip up stuff and have to go back and add, and they get mad and all of that, so we can ensure that everything is considered and approved and known all up front.
Ms. Tilly, what he's saying though, there was one of the board members called me because that they're so disenchanted with things that Sarah's talking about.
And so if they're supporting documentation, so we know that you have looked at all the ordinances and that this is in correlation or your blessing of that they're following our rules. And you have, or maybe you provide a report every month, or every meeting, I don't know what that looks like, but I mean, I don't want you to do it at the end of the month and we've approved it the first meeting of the month, right? So maybe when it's pertinent or in that historic district zone, maybe she comes and she presents on that item. And you have a report for that, because it may be at P&Z too, because
I think it's more pertinent for P&Z.
well, but both too, because we need to know why P&Z said, yes, what if I think that that's okay, but P&Z's like, no, that's
Well,
not.
that's the thing. P&Z doesn't have the right to grant a variance to an ordinance. So if there's an ordinance in place that says, no, you can't do that, it doesn't matter what P&Z says. They have to say, well, you have to go to council.
Yes.
Right? So it's more important that P&Z knows the ordinances than us, because by the time they get to us, it's a variant time.
Yeah, I just, more involvement in that, because that P&Z meeting was a wreck.
Yeah.
So unorganized, and it was a wreck. And so I think the Urban Coffee gentleman got really combative. But if you had been known up front, I mean, patio lights and what he has going on are two different things, right? So, but in a way that's not put on stage, that he could be informed.
So you're asking me to take a look at what they submit?
Yeah, and what do we need, you know our ordinances, what do we need to take in consideration? Are they following our ordinances? Is there any gotchas?
So sponging off of that, that was one of the things I wanted to say is that the P&Z were unclear about the direction of facade lights, for example, and they talked about white. So last night I drove by and I looked at it, and I was telling Sarah earlier, you know, I looked at it and the white lights, what was there before was clearly out of code, but anybody could tell that. But now they got some nice pale white. They don't illuminate any real space, but it does look nice. You go to the steakhouse, you don't see any continuity, but that still looks right. You keep going north, you see dark. Okay, so P&Z is sitting there going, well, we need to look at that facade and make sure there's some continuity downtown, and it's not all the hodgepodge, no offense to Jeff Angelo. So anyway, it's that thing has come about many times in P&Z, and even City Council, what we've tried to look is try to have some continuity in the historic downtown. You might have been able to shed some light, pun intended, on the issue of lighting downtown, and there was this issue about seasonal. And then that's where it got into enforcement along with that. You know, if you set something up, are you going to enforce it? And that's where we're going to try to tighten up on that particular area in the P&Z. And again, if it leads P&Z, it needs to be a no-brainer. They don't bring it to us if it's out of code.
Unless it's right.
Unless it's all been examined ahead of time, and we're not sitting there going back to the P&Z. That's where it looks silly. So.
Because what I had provided, I'm the one that complained, and what I had seen looked like a smoke shop in the historic downtown with multiple lights going crazy, and but nobody on P&Z knew that was what was going on, and he certainly didn't disclose, oh yeah, I did multi-lights that were dancing. Okay, well, because P&Z might have thought different if they had known that.
So
and are his lights even the right kind of lights to have? Do they fit within the ordinance? I don't know.
Look at it at night, code enforcement and council, so that you're apprised of how it looks like that.
I'm not going to ask Miss Tilly to drive around at night. She doesn't work at night.
Well.
But when complaints come in.
Yeah. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
You don't work nights, okay?
Yeah.
But just I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, I see what you want to go.
Okay. Yeah. And don't ask me if you got questions, because clearly I'm not speaking clear tonight. Everybody had to qualify what I said. Okay.
Anybody else?
Whose idea was it to change the email? Was that Gary Palmer's?
Don't know.
Change the
email. From Gmail to Office.
Oh, that's just a system.
The email. Carol, what Jake, whoever Jake is with, the thing, said that our Gmail was primarily personal type stuff. Moving to Microsoft made it more business.
Well, it's awful.
It is awful.
I'm not even on it. I don't know how to get on it, so.
Awful how?
I agree with you.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
One more thing.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to make this, so the city knows I have no plans to run for re-election this next year and following the Lord's will for my life. So just want to let that know. Now, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Carol.
Second.
And we are at 8 o'clock. Adjourn.
Almost got it.
I really wish you would.